Ever wonder how a breakthrough idea actually becomes reality? Hi, I'm Susan Lindner, and this is the Innovation Storytellers Show, where I sit down with the change makers behind the world's most inspiring innovations to learn how they did it and the stories that help them make it happen. If you've ever had a big idea or want to tell yours in a more powerfully connected way, you're in the right place. I promise you'll get new ideas for how to tell a better story to your audiences too. So let's dive in. Today is a very special day. Today is the 5-year anniversary of our very first episode of Innovation Storytellers. And I just want to say thank you to all of my guests, to my fabulous producing team, our guest booking team. I just want to say this has been such an incredible journey all around the world, talking to innovation leaders from startups to grownups, large corporates to large government organizations, and incredible book authors and thinkers who have really helped to direct where we are going in innovation, and especially in this new frontier in the age of AI. There is nothing that makes innovation happen more effectively or faster, frankly, than great coordination and cooperation from partners who bring their expertise from around the world in order to make an innovation take off. In fact, it's almost impossible to make an innovation on one's own without the loving help and support of others who see the genius and the brilliance of the work that you're doing. And that's why I thought it was apropos that we have someone who's a true ecosystem builder on our 5-year anniversary session today. And so I'm really excited to introduce you to Simone Tarantino, who is the managing director of the Transatlantic Innovation Hub and managing partner for H Ventures. Simone is a market access and innovation expert working at the intersection of startups, corporates, and governments. He specializes in market entry strategy and corporate structuring and business development, focusing on tech, life sciences, and export-driven industries. As the founder of multiple ventures and a trusted advisor to foreign entrepreneurs, Simone bridges the gap between global innovation and U.S. opportunity. His work combines deep operational insight with hands-on, results-driven approaches that make him the go-to expert for companies seeking sustainable growth and strategic positioning here in the United States. Simone, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Susan. Ciao, everybody, and super honored to be here in this very important milestone of the podcast.
This is going to be great. So tell us, I was so sad to miss the grand opening of the Transatlantic Innovation Hub, but I'm glad I got to come down and see the space on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, almost steps away from the New York Public Library, if you know where that is. It's right in the heartbeat of Manhattan. And so tell us a little bit about the mission of the Transatlantic Hub and what was the vision for starting the hub to begin with?
So absolutely. Well, in essence, the Transatlantic Innovation Hub is at the same time a landing pad, so an arrival point for European corporate startup, scale-up, and mid-cap companies into the New York ecosystem. But at the same time, is a starting point for their expansion into the US. We work with companies that from Europe sees the U.S. market as the growth, the scale possibility, the opportunity. And we host them here. We help them grow. We offer a series of services and as a platform so they can first understand if there's a fit for them in the U.S., which is super important. But also when the fit is reached, we help them with the right network, with the right contacts, and with the right guidance to let them understand where to go. Because New York is a landing pad, but not everybody is meant to be in New York. So we have a network of partners that help them also grow in other parts of the countries. And the beauty is that this is a culmination of a long tail dream that as many people had, like me, of seeing an organic infrastructure that could help an incredible market like the European first understand and then grow into in the US.
That's right. And so a couple of things. The Transatlantic Innovation Hub is for all of Europe, right? Not just countries within the European Union.
Yeah,
And
that's correct.
the desire is to make this landing a little bit easier, right? Because it's daunting to think about coming from another country and setting up legal, accounting, immigration, all of the structures that need to be in place for a business to do business in the United States, not to mention finding what's the right place for you to be. So this is the facilities are just absolutely stunning. I'll say that. But so it's a very beautiful place to land. Because as a native New Yorker, right, it's a bit of a jungle trying to figure out the New York ecosystem as a startup, as a scale up, especially when English is not your native language necessarily, as well as you might speak it, right? New York has a vibe that's all its own.
Yeah, and that was actually my experience. And it is a two-layer kind of an answer of your comment. First is that yes, we work as a European continent because we're completely apolitical. We think in terms of innovation and we think in terms of talent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of talent, a lot of incredible innovation in Europe that deserve to be here and scale. And we work as a conglomerate of countries because, and I learned that firsthand, when I arrived here, I thought that having the support of the Italian community will suffice, will be enough. And it's not true. The power of New York is the network. So if you close yourself inside one little cocoon, you can go just as far as the cocoon goes. If you open yourself, connecting, being, network, sharing, giving before getting, you grow much faster and in a more organic way. The concept of the hub is exactly that. You arrive here not as an Italian founder, not as a French or Spanish or Lithuanian founder. You arrive here as a European founder that gets in touch with the European network, with the diversity of the European network, and the deep integration with the diversity of the New York ecosystem, which is one of the most incredible ecosystem in the world, I have to say.
It's a fascinating place to do business. And perhaps for some of my American listeners, Europe is the European Union constitutes the second largest economy in the world, right? There are incredible companies that are coming to the United States that American companies need to and should tap into as well. The opportunity for growth in both directions is immense. And the same way we can stay in our own little New Yorker pods too, our own little American pods. And it's imperative that we branch out in that way too, in making those connections.
Yeah, and this is actually an important point that you raise, because the two ecosystems are great, are powerful, are really strong, but they're different. It's very different. So the translating the language, the way of doing business, and the strengths and weaknesses of each of the two ecosystems is critical, and that's a big part of what we do. Just think about in Europe, there are way more early stage companies than later stage companies. The amount of funding goes easily into early stage company, while in the US, and the proof is in what happened in the last year and a half, that almost 75% of the venture capital went only to 5 companies. Okay.
Oh,
And that's super interesting, because as the ecosystem, we think about growth in a different way. Okay. Europe has, more early stage company than any other region. They host about 35,000 early stage startups than any other global region. Okay. But there's a gap. Okay. Only 8% of global scale-ups are US based. So they're still thinking in their big but still small cocoon. Okay, creating the bridge between the two ecosystems, it's imperative, because helps both. Helps the European ecosystem understand that they have to think globally and they can scale globally. And the US ecosystem, that there is a lot of talent and a lot of innovation that could be connected in Europe.
So, Simone, tell us a little bit about your own journey here, because no one woke up one morning and said, "Hey, let's open a Transatlantic Innovation Hub." You have a pretty vast experience as an innovator yourself, sir.
Yeah, and my journey is what I always say and call it like a non-linear career.
I want to meet this person who has a linear journey, who woke up one morning, wanted to be a doctor, became a doctor, won the Nobel Prize, and took his long winter nap. Like I haven't met that person yet.
Well, I haven't met the Nobel Prize yet. That's
yeah, there you go. Any minute now. Any minute now.
Any minute,
or maybe
yes.
maybe a FIFA prize, you know.
Well, you never know. You never know. No, when I say non-linear is exactly, Susan, what you just mentioned. To me, and forgive me, but I find boring the people that goes to college, gets a PhD in finance, starts in a bank, then goes to another bank, then grows in private equity, and then retires rich. Great. Their choice, happy for them, is not the people that I have affinity, that I have an intellectual alignment. Okay. I live through experiences, because my experience and my growth in the US was absolutely nonlinear. I came here about 26 years ago because I had the American dream, as every Italian, from the 70s. It's like, you watch the movies, you're like, oh, America, New York. So always had the dream. In Italy, I was lucky enough to, throughout, my career, ending up with building a marketing and communication company that was quite successful in Milano. I had a few employees and stuff. But with the American bug, I started to work with few American clients. And I started doing some, back and forth. So getting to touch the opportunities here. And then I was presumptuous enough to say, hey, I'm successful in Italy. I have a company that makes money. So let's go to New York and I will do the same. How difficult can it be?
How hard can it be?
I got slapped so hard, left and right, which really humbled me down, but was a great lesson because I started to understand how the New York ecosystem works. So I started from scratch, from the beginning, and literally renting my living room via Airbnb and sleeping on the couch for a few years, just to get through and funding my first company, and then understanding and starting. And is there where I understood the power of networking, the power of putting yourself out there, start talking with everybody about your ideas, giving, and that. So my non-linear career there touched several points because I had a space. So I had an art gallery. I had for 2 years, I had a wholesale distributor of Italian fashion brands. So I tried several different things until I finally found my fit. As I teach, as we guide companies to, look for the, market fit. What's your fit in the US? What is your service, your product a fit? Will people understand it and buy it? For people, I think is the same. And for me, it was the same. It took me a while, but then I found myself in the right place at the right time. And I started understanding that my value was in the cross-pollination between innovation, startups, government, and corporate, because I was able to speak all the languages and translate all the languages into a common vision.
And it really is different languages, right? I mean, people don't get that. I remember talking with a guy who ran one of the largest incubator accelerators in France. He was an innovator himself. He loved working with startups, had spent 10 years there, and then went to become the head of innovation at France's Walmart. And he was like, I'm so excited. I have 1,000 ideas. And I said, so what's it like? You've been there a year now. He said, I write an email. I CC 20 people on the email. I put forward my idea And then I sit at my desk and I wait 6 weeks for those 20 people to either give me the thumbs up or the thumbs down on my idea. And that is innovation in a large corporation. He said,
Yeah.
I'm so unaccustomed to just sitting and waiting and watching all of the pedals turning, and then maybe getting to progress. He's like, maybe getting a maybe out of my answer. And I was just like, oh. And I think startups, when they start working with grown-ups, right, with large corporates, they don't know that mechanism that's waiting for them about the need for consensus and buy-in and layers of rules and regulations and things. IBM used to acquire startups and they would send a spreadsheet, an Excel sheet of more than 100 lines of things that the newly acquired startup had to accomplish over the course of the 3-year earnout. And that was referred to as blue washing. If you're going to come into Big Blue, you're going to, like brainwashing, you're
Yeah.
going to be blue washed. And there wasn't anything about like, oh, we want to integrate your culture and we love what's exciting and new about you. And that's why we acquired you. And we want all of your good juju here. And in IBM, it was like, no, you will submit, you will succumb, you will be part of IBM. But in working, I've worked with startups for non-native English speaking startups for 20 years here in the United States. And for me, it was those facets of where people come from that actually make the technology what it is, the product market fit what it is, the unique selling proposition what it is. It's looking at those different cultural differences. It's not the tech is the tech, because inevitably every founder's DNA is on the tech. And the way they decide to make it is part of the culture they come from.
Yeah, and that's why it's really difficult for a large corporate to just acquire a startup and make that acquisition, successful. And I see it a lot of time when it comes to open innovation. Open innovation was like the buzzword just a few years ago, when large corporation were like, okay, let's innovate, looking at what's in the ecosystem and understanding them, and then acquire the solutions that we need. And it didn't work. It didn't work because the companies they were acquiring or working with, they were like amazing companies, an amazing solution, but the integration part, cultural integration part, was never working to a point where for a few years, and actually at the Transatlantic Innovation Hub is part of what we want to do. They're like, you need to have an intermediary. Okay, you need to have a company in the middle that once does the scouting for you. So first understand what the corporate really needs. Okay, because as you said, the email that went to 20 people. Okay, those 20 people speaks 20 corporate, lingos, all together, and translating that to what a founder, a CEO, or a very small team can understand is almost impossible. And they don't talk to each other. So the first point that, and I did that, was working a few years ago for a San Francisco company that was like doing, open innovation. And we were working with super large corporate like Enel. Enel is one of the largest, power producer and distributor on the planet. Okay. They were like trying to innovate. And so they hired us, and I was part of the team for the US to find solution. But the first big obstacle was translating what they really wanted into something, because you had 20 people saying, oh, we need this, we need that, oh, we need it this way, we need it the other way, without having a framework. Because corporate, that's the difficult part. You have too many people. So my job was to understand that those 20 people, those 20 needs, create a one challenge framework, and then scouting for solutions that fit that framework, and then making also the way on the back. So introducing the solution to the corporate in a way that the corporate would understand, and then managing the integration, because you cannot just say, okay, there's a fit, now you guys work together, because they don't have the same language, the same speed, the same culture to be able to work together. So a translator in the middle, it's a pivotal point, is a super important, entity that is able to constantly translate the two languages to make sure that they talk the same language. And at the end, the integration is successful.
I think what you're saying is really important, and it's the reason why so many mergers and acquisitions fail, right? Is everyone starts off with the best of intentions, and they're like, great, champagne corks popping, deal done. And you're like, okay, who's the integrator? Like that is a personality type in its own right inside of a company. But
and we're not talking about technology here. We're talking about language.
Yes,
and that's the
human stuff.
Yeah, that's the most important part.
So the idea for the hub, right, was to have a soft landing spot for startups, corporates, mid-tier, mid-sized companies to come from Europe and have a place to explore America, right? To explore the opportunity. And they may not settle in New York. They might wind up in Detroit or in Texas or California or what have you. Can you talk a little bit about the ecosystem that you're creating and inviting into TIH? Like, what does it look like?
So
who are the players coming?
This is a great question. So the Transatlantic Innovation Hub generates it from a vision that Tommaso D'Onofrio, which is the president of Atlas, had last year. That was understanding how to help the Italian ecosystem, understanding the US and grow. And it was a very interesting opportunity, but we immediately understood that Italy itself was not big enough, strong enough, mature enough to support an operation. That's why we decided to become a European. The first bunch of companies that became members of the hub, of course, came from Atlas. Atlas is an organization that is a member of Confindustria, and Confindustria is the largest trade organization in Italy. Most of the industrial, from startup to large corporate industrial players are part of Confindustria. Atlas manages the part of Confindustria that is related to technology and innovation. So the first big funnel came from there. And it's great because being Confindustria so wide, we were able to onboard companies that went from smart mobility to incredibly, disruptive medical tech to market research and other verticals. And that's the power of what we do. So I open a parenthesis. To become a member of the hub, there's a sort of like a small selection. You do an application and you get we do a small due diligence, and the due diligence that we do has two levels. The first one is, okay, are you a company that you are at the stage where you can support an entry in a market so important and vast like the US? And I'm not talking just about the financial support, but also a market attraction support, technology support. Okay, so could you be a fit for the US and able to support a growth for the next 6 months to a year? Okay, very good, you're in. Then the second selection, the second diligence that we do is that, are you in a vertical or a service that we have as a Transatlantic Innovation Hub, we have enough connections, enough knowledge to be able to make you a winner in this industry? If yes, good, you're in. We're fortunate enough that New York is an incredibly horizontal, ecosystem. It's not
well,
like
it is an island, right? We just build up. We don't have
that's true. But the example I always make is that San Francisco is an amazing ecosystem, but it's very small. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about, people. It's very small and it's very vertical. Is deep tech, is, LLMs, is like, a very particular type of companies. While New York and New York State and the East Coast in general is an ecosystem that is horizontal because it's applied technology, is applied manufacturing, is everything that the clients need. Okay, so what I always say is that you come to New York, because New York has your clients. You do business here. You're not building, you're selling.
That's a
So,
really good point.
and that's important because if you come from Europe, you already have your technology. Okay, you can change it, you can grow it and stuff, but you're here to sell, you're here to grow, you're here to scale.
Right.
And in New York and in the East Coast, you have both clients and money. Keep in mind that New York is the ecosystem in the world that invests in pre-seed and seed stage companies. As I said, the majority of the investment of the last year and a half in the US went to 75% went to 5 companies. The remaining 25% went to everybody else. The majority of it went to New York.
Wow. Wow. I'm so proud of my little town, my little hometown. My
Well,
little
that's
island
why we're
nation off the
here.
coast of America. That's how I like to think of New York City these days, is my little island nation off the coast of America. We do things differently here.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. It's the mentality. I always believe, I'm a very big cheerleader of New York. I truly believe that New York is an island. It is an island because it's different than any other place on the planet. And just think about it. New York City Metro has the same GDP of the whole Italy. Okay, we're talking
Wow.
about $2.3 trillion.
That's a lot of pasta.
It's a lot of pasta and a lot of tomato sauce.
That was my meal last night. So fantastic. Um, so, I also want to talk about the ecosystem that you're tapping into here in New York City. The groups that are, already working with transatlantic startups, the groups that are already, because you are tying into, I know, a network of consulates that are bringing in startups from all over the world to New York. You're tied into startup accelerators from various countries, right? I'm a mentor in the German accelerator. I work with Innovation Norway. There are lots of groups. Can you talk a little bit about like the people stack or the ecosystem stack that you are connecting people to here in New York?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that we're most proud. So a big part of my job is to connect through trade agencies, through consulate, European trade agencies, European consulate, their ecosystem to the New York ecosystem. And we do it through them because let's say, let me be transparent here, in a very opportunistic way. We know that trade agencies, European trade agencies, any trade agency, but especially the European, are measured in the amount of company they help. But unfortunately, they're severely understaffed. Of course, they're like 2-3 people. So imagine an ecosystem from Norway, an ecosystem from Italy, an ecosystem from Spain that wants to understand and approach the US. They go to 2 or 3 people and start knocking at the door. And because they're great professional trade agencies, trade officers, they're measures in how many companies they help, there's a bottleneck there. So we go to them and we say, don't worry, there's no bottleneck because you plant your flag inside the Transatlantic Innovation Hub and we can do the work for you. So they now become a funnel for us, a filter and a funnel for us. So we work with them, we help their ecosystem grow, and it's a win-win for everybody because now they can help their ecosystem in a much faster way because we have an operational platform, not just a physical one. And that's super important. And, the pride of being able to work with so many, foreign companies through their like governments shows also that the governments care, which is, another win. In terms of like accelerators and incubators, we said since the beginning that we don't want to compete, we want to collaborate. So we're working with local, small, large, and medium-sized accelerator and incubators that usually they host programs where they have a group of companies from, I don't know, Germany or and they do the program and they teach them they stuff, but they are not able, because it's not their job and they don't have the platform, they're unable to give them the next step. So a company comes here to the US, works for like 2 weeks, very intense, they learn a lot of stuff, and then what? They go back to Spain, Germany, Finland, UK, Lithuania, and they have to kind of restart from scratch. So we offer the next step. So we collaborate with all these entities saying, okay, you do the program, because you're doing a great job, that's your expertise. You put them in a place where they're ready to start. And then we onboard them and we gave them the rest of the life science, of the lifestyle, the lifeblood to continue their journey in scaling in the US. And that's like one of the most important part, because again, through collaboration, we all grow. There's enough work for everybody.
And I think a lot of people don't know about the ecosystem that's here in place. I think about working with organizations like Venture Out, right? That is one that brings startups from Europe and abroad into the US and gives them a taste of what it's like, and is maybe like one of those other connection points, right? That ecosystem. So what are some of those other organizations that maybe European startups, scale-ups, mid-tier companies don't know about, that are resources to them that the Transatlantic Innovation Hub is connecting them to?
There's plenty. The beauty of New York is that as 2025, there were almost 80 incubator and accelerator, from,
Wow.
super vertical, the one tied to, colleges and universities, to the big and famous one like ERA, like, SOSA, and then there's many. And most of them are really good. They do a very good job. But their business model is program in, program out, program in, program out. That's why we work with all of them, because we offer the next step, which is a win for everybody. Okay.
Yeah, because all of these organizations want to showcase that you can open an office in New York, right? Or can open an office in America. And therefore, they need a place to go after their fantastic programs have ended, right?
Correct. And a lot of these companies are, because those programs are very selective, are companies that could have a chance to really scale in the US. They're just missing the platform for it, and we are that platform.
Yeah. And the other thing, you cannot overstate the importance of going through it with other people who are doing it at the same time, like of having a community. So talk a little bit, Simone, also about the programming that you plan to have at the hub.
Yeah, so we are planning several, I wouldn't say programs, but I would say like events, or we call it activations. And we do this in an opportunistic way, of course. We're a business, we need to grow, and we need to, finance, and everybody need to make money. So we look at what's missing, what could be an opportunity, and we create an activation around that. One example, actually two examples. One example that is very dear to me, in my many years in New York and many years working with the incubator accelerators, mentoring many companies, I saw firsthand how many female tech leaders are not visible as they should. So the best example here, we are putting together a specific program for European female tech leaders, okay, startups, scale-ups, that wants to understand on the business side the New York ecosystem. So we're creating this 3-day or 5-day program probably in October, where we'll invite through trade agencies, governments, and consulates a selection of female tech leaders from Europe on a business mission to the US. Business mission is that you're not here for like looking at the Empire State Building and things like that. You're here because we understand what you do, what you need, and we create those bridges, those business bridges, so you can understand how to scale in the US. And that's very important, because European talent is there. European female talent is there even more, but is never be on the spotlight as it should. And we're proud to want it that and to build that for them. The other example is, again, there's the World Cup. So we are organizing for the second week of July a sport tech event where European sport tech related companies has the ability to showcase what they do with like demo areas and everything, and we're able to pitch in front of investors their technology. So it will be a full day, probably in collaboration with the city of New York, where a technology company in the sport vertical will come into New York, or the European that are already in New York, and showcase what they're capable of. And at that event, what we do, our job is to invite relevant, people. So we're inviting, people from the NFL, NBA, and sports enthusiasts, sports groups, and investors in the sports vertical, life sciences, healthcare, which is, of course, critical in the sports industry.
There are so many facets to this. I feel like there is a space for so many different kinds, so many accelerators, hubs, et cetera, really get very vertical. I mean, there are even government accelerators that are in smart cities and EVs and things like that, right? Everybody's got an accelerator, but this next stage is like, it's such a missing piece in the New York ecosystem. It's like, what do we do next? And like, I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs and innovators who are listening to this show know what it's like to hit the goal and then not know what to do after you've hit the goal. Like you meet the milestone, what now? And I'm kind of feeling that 5 years into the podcast, like, what now? Like, how do we make this better, more exciting, more reachable? So I just want to say to my listeners, where's the gap of your own innovation journey? Who else could you be partnering with that perhaps might accelerate your progress, or perhaps broaden your mindset and expertise in a way that you haven't before, because maybe you haven't looked across the Atlantic to see what other possibilities there are, but also know now that these companies are in a concerted place where you can find them. And I think also, Simone, you have some incredible sponsors at the Hub. And this is not just about the companies. There are venture capital firms, right? There are banking interests involved. There are industrial interests involved. There are trade organizations from around Europe that are involved in this. It's a much bigger undertaking than just like, we have a co-working space for you to come and think about. We're really tapping into the heartbeat of New York, but the nervous system of Europe. Right?
Yeah, the secret sauce is exactly what you said, Susan. We're not a place where you come and sit. You can do that, yeah, but that's not the point. It's a place where you come and network and understand and connect and find all the things that you need in one place, okay? Which is one of the most difficult part for a European company that comes to New York. And in general, comes to any foreign countries. They want to arrive here, they want to scale, so what do you need? Now, first of all, I don't know what I need. So we tell you what you could look for. And then instead of going and asking like 5 different lawyers and 5 different accountants and 5 different immigration lawyers and 5 different people that does biz dev or creative or branding or whatever, or storytelling, which to me is one of the most important thing on the journey of a foreign company in the US. And I truly believe that you have everything here. Then you just raise your hand and say, hey, we want to do this. What's the best thing? Boom. We have the network. We have the people. We have the storytellers that can help you tell the story. We have the accounting firm that can help you understand how to frame the tax and everything. So the beauty of what we're building is that we're building a platform, and is not a co-working, is a physical place that is a platform where you get everything you need to start and grow in the US.
Yeah. And so is the Transatlantic Hub just a New York anomaly? Is it just a one-off dream, or will there be transatlantic innovation hubs all over?
There's already a network. So the Transatlantic Innovation Hub is the first of, in 2026, first of 3 hubs that we're opening. This one just opened this year. In a couple of months, we will have operational the Transatlantic Innovation Hub in Beijing, China. And by
Wow.
the end of the year, depending on how the geopolitical situation is evolving, we'll have the same photocopy of what we're doing here in the US in Qatar, in Doha.
Mm,
Aside from that, thanks to a partnership with the Impact Hub Network, we're opening satellites spots in Rome, Florence, Paris, and London. So
fantastic.
if you become a member of the Transatlantic Innovation Hub in New York, you're automatically a member of the Transatlantic Innovation Hub network. So we have a global membership that with a very small fee allows you to have, days in each one of the hubs, depending on, where you travel.
Right. So fettuccine in Milano and Venice, and then
Pad
beautiful
Thai, and
noodles
then,
in
exactly.
Beijing. Fantastic. Simone, if people want to get in touch with you and learn more about the Transatlantic Innovation Hub, how should they do that?
Well, our space is on Fifth Avenue, our 17 Fifth Avenue, 8th floor. But the best way is to go through our website, tihny.com. Most of the information are there of what we do. Or if they want to contact me directly, is my first name, Simone, at tihny.com. Happy to answer any question.
Fantastic. Simone, now comes the time on Innovation Storytellers where I ask you the 3 most challenging questions in the world. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. What is the greatest innovation of all time?
The greatest innovation of all time is, to me, and this might sound old, is computers.
Mm,
Having a machine that does work for you and the beauty is the evolution of it. So
mhm.
I'm not talking about AI. I'm talking about something that can support the growth of AI computing. And I
Mm,
say that because at the beginning of my career, I worked for Intel. Okay. And I'm old enough to be one of the few that I was in Italy, one of the employee 33 in Intel, Italy.
wow.
Yeah. And my job was to explain computer, what is a computer, why they need a computer, to families. Because back then there was no computer in their, average home. So my job was to let them understand why they should have a computer. So I think computer to me is the most important
Simone,
innovation of all
what year
time.
was that, out of curiosity?
I don't want to really say it because it's that kind of show, you know, but, in Italy it was a while ago,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, if you could join any innovation team in human history, which team would you join?
Oof, that is a tough one. Um, I am fascinated by quantum computing.
Mm,
Um, I was lucky enough to have not just one, but 2 friends that worked and still work in quantum computing research. And the story they tell me about the physics of building quantum computing, I'm a nerd. So, it's like mind blowing to me. So I would love to join one of those teams.
I studied Italian instead of physics my last year of high school, and I'm not saying I'm regretting it, Simone. Signora Polone was an amazing teacher, but I'm feeling that I should have gotten a little bit of a dose of quantum physics before embarking on this innovation career. And my
Well, there's
last
always
question,
time.
there's still time. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Um, my last question is, what is the innovation that the world needs now?
That is probably a very tough question because when you say the world needs, I'm thinking about humanity. And
Mhm,
I think that the innovation that they need is humanity.
mhm.
The and what I see is that there's no AI, there's no technology that will do enough to change how people think they want to help each other. And to me, in a world that is evolving this fast, where the difference between rich and poor are so dramatically high, the difference between wealth and the use of it and the non-use of it are so incredibly important. I think that's the main change that people need to do. Mentality, understanding that if you help and work to help, who's not able to, who's in poor countries and stuff, I think to me that's the number one most important thing today for humanity.
I feel like we are teaching the AI how to be more human, and I hope we don't lose how to be human as we teach it to be more like us. My fear is that we are becoming more like it. And we really have to put a safeguard on ourselves as humans to not become the heartless robots.
Yeah. Right? Well, Anthropic just released a model that they believe make AI dream.
Yes.
I don't know about that, but let's see.
I
hope humans will keep dreaming.
But we're the only ones who can, right?
Oh, yeah. So far.
Simone Tarantino, thank you so much for joining me on our 5-year anniversary show. I'm so grateful to have you on today. Thank you.
Thank you. It was an honor. It was a pleasure. Happy to help.
Thanks. I truly hope you enjoyed today's conversation. If you did, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you never miss the next story that could inspire your own. And if you want to learn more about me or how I can help you and your team to become master storytellers to get your big idea to its finish line, head over to innovationstorytellers.com and schedule a call with me.